name is Kim Lovato, and I teach 5th grade science at Pecan Park Elementary.
Hi, and I'm Carney Holloway, and I also teach 5th grade science at Pecan Park Elementary. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about density. Have you ever wondered why some objects sink while others float? Well, if you have, then today is going to be the perfect day because we're going to learn all about that. So before we get started with our fun experiment, let's go over the definitions. So when we're talking about density, it's the amount of matter in a given space or volume. So something less dense than water will float. Something more dense than water will sink. So when we were teaching this year in class, we did a little hand game. So I want you to put your hands like this. If something is more dense than water, so more dense than water, it will sink. If it's less dense than water, it will float. Perfect. So what I want you to do is go really quick around your house and find 5 objects that you want to test to see if they will sink or will they float. Go. All right, so what we're going to need today is we're going to need a bucket of some sort, probably one that you can see through. You can see the water. You're going to want to fill it up with water, and then your 5 objects. So today we're going to test a few of some objects that we found around our house. Ours might look a little bit different, but that's okay. That's what makes science fun. You're also going to want a piece of paper and a pencil, and you're going to want to write this prediction chart. So in one column we wrote the item, which is where we're going to write what we're going to test. Then our prediction, is it going to sink or float? Then we will test it, and we will write down the result of what really happened. So while I'm putting the objects in, Miss Lovato is going to help with the prediction table. So here we go. Let's start off with something like this little tiny green ball. Do you think the ball is going to sink or float based off of its density? Miss Lovato, what is your prediction about this green ball?
I think it's going to float.
You think it's going to float? Let's see. You are correct.
Yes.
So this ball is less dense than the water. That is why it was floating. So let's try another object. Do you have a preference?
Let's do a marker.
All right, let's try this blue marker. All right, do you think it's going to sink or float?
I really don't know.
I'm going to go with sink.
You're going to go with sink? Okay.
Let's see. The marker floats. That means that it is less dense than the water. All right, for our third item, let's try this bottle of water. It does have water in it. Let's see, what do you think this one's going to do? Float or sink?
Sink.
She thinks it's going to sink. Let's see. So we saw it hit the bottom for a second, but then it resurfaced to floating, which means that the bottle of water is also less dense than the water.
Okay, I need a good prediction now.
Okay, let's try the can. What do you think about the can?
Okay, I don't know. I'm going to say floats.
We're going to say floats. Let's see what happens when we drop the can in. It sunk. The can sunk. That means the can is more dense than the water. All right, let's try one more object, and then we're going to go into our fun objects. What do you think about this weight?
That one's going to sink.
This is a 5-pound weight, and she predicts that it's going to sink.
It floats.
She was correct. The weight did sink. That means that it is more dense than the water. All right, so now you can probably see that I have 3 Coke cans on the desk. I have a Diet Coke, I have a Coke, and I have a Coke Zero. So we know that all 3 of these are sodas, right? But there's one key difference. This one contains sugar. So based off of that, what do you think is going to happen when we put it into the water? Do you predict that the regular Coke will sink or float?
I think it's going to sink.
She predicts that it's going to sink. Let's see. She is correct. the Coke is at the bottom of the water. That means that it is more dense. But let's see what happens when we put in the Diet Coke. Now we know that Diet Coke has no sugar. No sugar. So let's see what happens when we put it in there. So we saw that the Diet Coke did hit the bottom, but it resurfaced. It is now floating. It is not hitting the bottom like the regular Coke. And that is due because of what? If you said sugar, you are correct. Because the Diet Coke does not have any sugar, that's what causes it to float. All right, now let's try the Coke Zero. Coke Zero also does not contain sugar. So it should do what? If you said float, you are correct. But we have never tried this, so let's see if we are correct. All right, the Coke Zero did float as well, which meant it does not have sugar in it like they said. So thank you for watching today, and I hope that you will post whatever you tried today and that you will show us a video of if your objects sank or if they floated.
A few terms that we've mentioned today that we want to refer to is how we measure matter. Mass is the amount of matter in an object, okay? Volume is the amount of space that an object takes up. And just like Ms. Holloway said, when we're looking at density, there is a formula. Density is mass over volume. Density is the amount of matter in any given space or volume. So when we look at the objects that we are sinking or floating today, we want to see if they are more dense. Do they have more matter in the volume that they're in the shape that they contain, or do they have less matter, mass in their space than what is in our bucket? So just keep that in mind as you're making your predictions if it will sink or float.